On today's special episode of Homeworthy, we're exploring 3 stunning homes inspired by the timeless elegance of French design. First, we visit a beautifully designed home in Knoxville, Tennessee, where a deep appreciation for traditional French-style homes blends perfectly with an incredible collection of art and antiques. Next, we step inside a New Orleans home where the fusion of European antiques and contemporary art comes together in a way that reflects both sophistication and personal style. Finally, we visit a gorgeous home in Georgia where French chateau-inspired architecture, vibrant colors, and timeless antiques create an inviting space that perfectly balances elegance and warmth. Enjoy! Watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Weddingworthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
Hi, Homeworthy. I'm Bobby.
And I'm Todd. Welcome to our home in Knoxville, Tennessee. Come on in so we can show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Hello, my name is Todd Richardson. I'm an interior designer, and welcome to our home in Knoxville, Tennessee. My husband, Bobby, and I have lived in this home for 25 years. We're actually starting on the 26th year now. We were living in a condominium in downtown Knoxville when we bought this house. And Bobby had been seeing this house in the real estate books for several months, and he was just drawn to it. And finally we came and looked at it. It had been on the market for 2 years, unoccupied, was totally overgrown, but there was a charm to it that we could not ignore. And we walked in, we both fell in love, saw the potential, and we bought it. Our house on the outside is a textbook example of a French Norman home. And inside, one of the things that we wanted when we were looking for a house was a place that would house our collection of 18th and 19th century European antiques. And so I wanted a place that felt authentic. The authenticity factor was very important to both of us. So we loved the fact that it was a French house and that we had so many French and European antiques. It just felt like a great marriage because we knew that our furniture would look really good in this house. And I think that's something that clients should really consider too as they are doing projects, that the outside looks like it belongs with the inside. And I think we've done that very successfully here. Welcome to our living room. One of my favorite things in this room is the light. I love any room that has light on at least 3 sides, and this room has that. And this room feels very restful to me, and it's a relaxing space, and the light's so good, it just is a feel-good room to me. Here over the sofa, we have this large 18th century painting, and we developed a collection of old Amari pieces and these really pretty Italian gilded brackets. And we were just collecting the Amari. We hadn't really done anything with it. And we had just kind of collected it in drawers. And when we hung this painting in here, we thought, oh, that would be really pretty here. And so we also had a collection of these Italian brackets that we had never hung. And we started with 3, and then over time have added the other pieces. And I think it's a really interesting feature here in this room. My favorite thing in this room is the painting that's over the fireplace. I love this piece. It's a boy who is in front of some sort of a lumberyard type thing. It was done in the 30s by J.B. Shepherd. And when we bought it, Bobby found it at an antique store here in Knoxville, and it was totally dark. We couldn't really even tell what color the shirt was on the boy, and the background was fully obliterated. All we saw was his face, and he was a really handsome fellow, and So we bought it and we sent it to be cleaned, and this is what came back, and it's really one of my favorite pieces. The fireplace here in this room is actually a coal burning fireplace. It's from a company called Home Fires USA. And they make these wonderful reproduction English fire baskets. This one has a little bit of a French detail. It's gas, really puts off a nice amount of heat, but it has a charm. I always think about a fireplace and how it looks when the fire's off, because the truth of the matter is fireplaces are off more than they are on. So the fire baskets look really sharp when they're not burning, and I think they're superior to gas logs in that way. So we used them in every fireplace here in our house. I have a really interesting collection of boxes here in this room. Some of them are mother of pearl, some of them are tortoiseshell, but like this is a beautiful display box that's mother of pearl, and in it it's got a tortoiseshell and 18 karat gold glasses case that's kind of really interesting and unusual. This is another one that I love, really pretty English box that has the original decanters on the inside of it. And I love things that have a story like this. It even has the original silver funnel where it would have been filled. So there's just a charm and a little history to these things, and those are the things that are special to me. When we did this room originally, when we originally moved into this house, we started with this fabric. This is a Schumacher fabric. It was something that we both loved the colors of, and so we built the room around it. The sofa was done around it. We did a red chair and another pair of red chairs, but this past year we did a little refresh in here, and this fabric was super expensive when we did it, and we could only afford to use it on this one chair. So this time around, we used it to do a sofa. And so we sort of gave the room a refresh with this sort of teal color that we pulled out of the fabric that we use for draperies. And I love the way the room feels now in its new iteration. It feels fresh to me. And so this is one of the reasons why this is one of my favorite rooms here. And here's the sofa that we did in it. Sofa was originally covered in blue, so we sort of switched around, and we had check draperies before, and now we did these, the blue wool with the patterned sofa, and I love it. The windows in the house are all replaced from when we moved in, but they're similar to what was here before. In the dining room, we did enlarge the windows significantly, and we also did in the kitchen, but other than that, the windows are the size that they were when we moved in. The bunny here by the fireplace is Hunt Slonim. Most people know him for his wonderful rabbit, kind of quick drawing paintings. And he has done a group of glass blown bunnies where the bunny part is actually done by a glass artist in his town. And then he comes in and actually pulls the ears himself. So he's the one that gives the bunny the personality. This one's really interesting, I think, in that it has this sort of blue metallic, and we loved it for this room. This is kind of interesting, I think, in this room. We have a lot of collections of just stuff that we found that's random that we think is interesting. And in order to keep a space from feeling cluttered, I always try to display that together in a collection. So we did a lot of that here in this sort of cabinet of curiosities. And I think it's kind of interesting, and it keeps our kind of clutter neatly displayed and clean. The room is grounded with this big sisal rug. I added the velvet border to the side because I love to add detail like that to anything that we make. I think the big rug in this space unifies the space. And that's one of the things that I always try to do in my design work is the bigger the rug, the bigger the room is going to feel. And that's true 100% of the time in 100% of rooms. So making the rug room size is great because it does tie together basically 3 separate areas that are within this room. So it's a unifying factor, easy to do, but it has a great impact. I love the quietness of these chairs. These were just added this past year in the Holland & Sherry Tattersall fabric. I love the neutral color, and it's really easy to accessorize those with different color pillows or throws, and they're also very comfortable. So I always want to have a room that not only looks comfortable, but actually is. I love this chest. It's a Dutch marquetry chest. It's 18th century, And it's just a really interesting piece. I've never seen another one that was exactly like it, but the marquetry work is beautiful. And again, these lamps are something that we bought when we moved in about 25 years ago. Just really pretty Amari vases that have been converted to lamps. So they've been sitting here for a long time. This is a really special piece to me. It's a micro mosaic piece of the Pantheon in Rome. It was probably done in the 19th century as a Grand Tour souvenir. One of the pieces in the living room that a lot of people comment about is this really pretty French style chest. It's not old, it's from a company called Cargus, but we love the colors of it. And it's just a really pretty color, and they've done a beautiful job of the finish so it feels authentic, and I think it works really well with our collection of antique pieces and antique art. My personal style is pretty traditional. I'm drawn to classic pieces. I'm drawn to things that have personality, and I love a story. So everything here in our home is something that Bobby and I have chosen together, and there's a memory associated with every piece, and every piece has a story. Welcome to our dining room. We chose to set this room up more as, it is kind of a pass-through space, really. It's a little bit small for a dining room. If this house has a flaw in it, it's that the dining room is really, really too small. So we took the chairs away and just have the table as a centerpiece. I love this table. It really is more of a center table than a dining table. It's from a company called Alfonso Marina. The top just is really pretty marquetry work, and the bowl oftentimes is just there by itself. We just did some fresh spring flowers for Homeworthy today. Created a small little garden there. The saint, and I'm not sure who it is, I think maybe it's Saint Joseph, is something that we bought in Venice that we had shipped back. And I love this collection of Russian crystal candlesticks. I love the way that they sparkle, and just really interesting facet work on those. Another really interesting piece here in the dining room is this pair of paintings that we bought in Russia. It's just a fun memory of our time there. And we love Russian art specifically, and I think those represent the quality and the detail of Russian art really, really well. This is a great piece. It's a 19th century piece, so it's not super old, but I think it's got great presence. I love the ormolu mounts and the marble top. My favorite chest in here is on the other side of the room. It's actually an 18th century French piece. I love the color of the wood, and the hardware on this piece is really beautiful. But to me, this fruitwood sort of color is always spectacular. So the painting above the chest was actually painted by a friend of mine about 30 years ago. And I was in Paris at the Drouot auction, and this painting was in one of the catalog books, and we saw it in France. And it sold for a crazy amount of money, like over 100,000 euros 30 years ago. So it was a lot of money. And I, of course, couldn't afford that. But my friend saw it in the auction book when we got back, and he said, I can paint that for you. And he did. And so it used to hang in my condo over a sofa. And then in our condo downtown, when Bobby and I first got together, it hung above our bed. And now it's been here in our dining room for 25 years. This other painting, Bobby refers to her as Wednesday Addams. She's actually a really wonderful painting that we got in Paris. She was painted by Alexander Serres. He was a contemporary of Camille Corot. And if you look at the foreground and the background, it's total Corot style. So you know that they were together some when this was going on. And this was actually painted for the Great Exposition in Paris when the Eiffel Tower was built, and it still bears its salon number in the lower left-hand corner where it was, where it hung there in Paris. And it's in its original frame, which I think is really rare, but it's perfect period piece. The ceiling is actually a wallpaper from Scalamandre from a collection that they did with Historic Newport. And so it's actually a copy of a ceiling that's in Newport. That's probably 3D. I haven't seen which house this came out of, but We loved the colors, and these were the colors that we wanted to use in this house. So it added a great detail in this space. The other thing that's really nice about this is at night when the lights are on and you're outside on the lower level by the pool, you look into this dining room window and you cannot miss the ceiling. So it gets great views from here in the house, but probably even better when you're outside. The chandelier in this room is from Neiman Weeks. It's their Italian chandelier, and I love the crusty finish on it. So it's not really old, but it has definitely an old world charm to it because of the finish and the way that they've done it. But it's hung here for a long time as well. But I like the little bit of sparkle that it brings. It's pretty simple, but I do think crystal looks really good in dining rooms to me. So I always like to try to do something that has a little bit of jewelry on it because I think the sparkle is nice at night when you're eating. The rug in this room is actually one that I designed. We use a lot of patterned carpets in the work that we do, and I love an antelope carpet or a leopard carpet. But I wanted something that was a little more interesting than that here in this room. So Stark and I worked together to create this radial pattern with the antelope. The stripes just line up perfectly. They did a beautiful job assembling it, and I'm really happy with it. It's been a nice addition to this room. We had an Ushak carpet in here originally, which we still have. It's in a guest room upstairs, but the antelope carpet, I think, gave a fresh energy to the space. The tile in the foyer and dining room is something that was original to the house. It's actually the only thing really left in the house that was here when we bought it, and we can't get it out because it's set in 2 inches of concrete. It's slate, but I actually like the look of it. I didn't like it originally, and I struggled with it for a long time, but it's become something that feels very grounded. It sort of disappears a little bit, and I like that the color is just kind of very neutral and dark, and it just sort of recedes. So it does give an authentic feel to the house because of the age of it, but it's something that I didn't really like originally, but it's something that I've grown to love. The draperies in here, I love the pattern, but the special thing is the drapery rings. We were at an estate sale one day and came across, it was really a very interesting estate sale. We have several things that the lady had collected through her life. She was an interior designer, and she had worked in New York, and she had really sophisticated things, but she had a box of these drapery rings. We had no idea where we were going to put them. But it worked out when we did our dining room window treatment that we had exactly the right number of those to do for this, and that's where they ended up, and I love them. Entertaining was a big factor in why we chose this home. We had hosted a large holiday party in our condominium downtown. We would have about 120 people there, and it was literally jammed in, packed. You couldn't get through the hallway or into any of the rooms, but it was a fun time and people really loved it. So we wanted a place where we could entertain that many people better, keep them more comfortable, having more space around. So this house worked great for that. Welcome to our sunroom, and here we're meeting up with Bobby.
Hi, Homeworthy. Welcome to our house. This is our sunroom. And this room did not even exist until 2017. So we added on this room. And as you can see, it's very colorful. I like green, Todd likes blue. So we decided to use more green in this room. Also, the colors are inspired by the Greenbrier Hotel, one of our favorite places to go. And you can see the colors on the wall is a pretty azalea color. Is that correct?
Cameo azalea.
Cameo azalea, and that was used in the Greenbrier. And then the wallpaper kind of feels like a tent. So this room is elevated, and it kind of feels like a tree house. So the tent and the windows, when you look outside, it feels like you're sitting in a tree house outside. So I think that's what makes this room charming.
One of the things that we loved is a detail from an old hotel called the Martha Washington in Abingdon, Virginia, that we like to go to. And the windows there go all the way to the floor. So that was a detail that we wanted to use in this room, where it felt like you could just walk right outside. when we were doing it, we really were unaware of the fact about how elevated the room was above the landscape outside, but it does give it a treehouse type effect. The wall color in here was really a bright, bold choice with the green and white stripe, right? It's not for everybody for sure. But we had seen a picture of a room in a hotel, I believe, that Ken Falk had done years ago. And he had used a really pretty leopard fabric and trimmed it in a contrasting color. And I thought, well, this would be a perfect place for that. And I think that the leopard at the window sort of, the natural colors sort of dial it down a little bit and make it feel more cozy and a little less formal. So I really love that. And I love that we incorporated the green banding to kind of tie it all together.
And another thing that softens this room is the floor. You may think that it's a marble floor, but it's actually a wood floor that has been painted and faux finished marbleized. Even the baseboards are wood baseboards, but they've been faux finished by a friend of ours in Nashville who's an artist. And Todd and I had to actually help him do the floor because it was sort of like Murphy Brown, the painter that would never leave. So we kind of felt like if we did not help paint these squares, then he would be here forever. But it really softens the room. A lot of people don't even know that it is a wood floor that's been painted.
And we did the wood floor because we wanted a piano in here, and the sound of a piano is much better off of the wood than it is off of the stone. It's a softer sound and a richer sound. So that made a big difference in choosing this surface. But I like the playfulness of it also over, a more formal marble floor. It just feels softer to me in general.
And the piano itself is a story because when we chose green for this room, so when we were doing the room, Todd Googled a green chinoiserie piano, and we wanted a player piano. And guess where the only one in the United States was? Louisville, Tennessee, which is like 30 miles from here. So the piano just, it had to be restored. We saw it in its original condition, and the company that does the restoration, they put in, what's it called?
The player mechanism.
The player mechanism, yeah.
And we got to see it during the restoration process a couple of times too. So it was really an interesting process to watch. But I just couldn't believe that, I wanted to use some Asian, some chinoiserie motifs, and Bobby wanted green. So that's when I just randomly Googled green chinoiserie piano, and here it was. It's got an amazing sound if you want to hear it. So, a lot of people don't like to put the player mechanism in it because you have to cut a portion of the piano away. But to me, it just makes it so much easier to use, and we couldn't enjoy it without that. But this particular piano is a Pleyel. It was built in Paris in 1880. And Pleyel used one forest in Italy to harvest the wood for their soundboards. So it's a very specific type of an evergreen tree that they used for the soundboards. And they had a really unique design. This piano has 5 legs. And as a result, the case, the way that they can string the piano is extra long. So the strings in this are about the length of a concert grand piano. So you get a really deep, rich sound out of it that you can't get out of a different piano that would be of this size. The pair of chairs is a pair of chairs that we actually bought at the Antique and Garden Show in Nashville, I guess 7 years ago.
Right.
And Bobby he found this toile from Schumacher, fell in love with it. And so the room was really built around this fabric. And so we just did them in this. And our friend Daryl that did the floor painted the chairs in the gold and green to kind of match. Bobby, you should tell about the bar because I think that's a really interesting piece too.
Yes. Okay, this is a chinoiserie bar. Similar to the piano, it's green, But we found this in
Abingdon.
Abington, yes. But what's cool about it is when you open it up, it's kind of like a disco show. It's got the glass, both sides. So we don't use it a lot, but oops. Anyway,
it's a glamorous piece.
Very glamorous, yes. This is a little table. This is where we eat dinner every night and watch TV when we're watching the news. So this is just our little dining table here.
Yeah, so it's a little Italian table. Yeah. And a glass artist from Alabama made these beautiful bowls. They're available in a gallery here in town. I really like the paintings that are in here, the Trumeau mirrors that are on the front of the house that has the oval window, because they represent art, and art is something that's really important to both of us. We had seen these probably, I don't know, 10 years ago maybe, at a show, and we didn't have a place to put them. And when we were doing the sunroom, we found out that they were still available. The dealer still had them because we saw on Instagram they showed up in one of his photos. So they came from an antique shop near the Greenbrier, and we just drove up there to get them one day, and they're perfect here. And then we found this other piece of art that is also children representing art that hangs above the bar, and he's a little portrait artist painting the little girl. One of the things that we did in here that I think is really unique, it's one of my favorite features in this room, is how we trimmed the doors and windows. We wanted to use, of course, the chinoiserie motif, so I designed these pediments to go over the doors that sort of flare out and have a pagoda type top, did a Chinese Chippendale design on them. But the best thing is the bamboo trim. So this is just a piece of 1x4 flat stock. And then this is picture frame molding. That's bamboo that we got for like $2 a foot. Some of it's gold underneath, some of it's silver. We bought as much as the place had. And we ripped the rabbit off the back and then just applied this on either side. And when it all painted out, it looks like a bamboo trim. And we trimmed the bookcase in it as well. So I love the incorporation of those Asian details in this room. The rug here in front of the window is Dean von Furstenberg for the rug company. It's the silk leopard. And then my favorite rug in here, and I think Bobby's favorite rug in here, is the Nichols Chinese rug that's here in this room. That color green is incredible. It's very hard to find. And this is like, I swear there is a patron saint of interior designers that shows up just at the right moment, because right when we were doing this just sort of walked into our life one day, and we knew immediately that was it, that was what we were going to do this room around. And so it just happened sort of spontaneously. You know, the animal print thing, I think, is sort of a staple in my design repertoire. There's something that is elevated about them. I really like them. And there's something that always feels rich and special about them. So we use that both in a leopard. This particular one here on this chair is from Clarence House. And we used them as pillows on the sofa. It's a silk velvet from Luigi Bevilacqua that we did the sofa pillows in. And I think it's just fun. It gives a playful spirit to the room. I love the color that it adds. The painting, I think, is really a fun thing here in this room. The Boy with the Fish. You found that
at the Paris Flea Market.
Yeah.
We were there. I think the room hadn't been finished yet when we found this painting. And
right.
And once again, it was one of those purchases. We didn't know where we were going to put it, but we thought it would fit there. So we went ahead and bought it because we knew we'd find a place for it. And
yeah,
anyway,
we were working
worked perfectly
on this room when we were in Paris, because if you remember,
yes,
this is really interesting. So we were in the design process of the room, and I wanted this giant oval window. We had seen this detail in a black and white movie, and I can't remember the name of the movie at this point, but the window was actually even deeper than what we've got it, and there was a lady sitting in that kind of angle that we have. But the architect had just sent us the facade of the sunroom, and the oval window was tiny. And he said, Todd, there's no historic precedent for one as large as what you want to put here. Well, when he sent that picture, Bobby and I were at the Petit Trianon, and he was standing in front of an oval window that was this size. So I took a picture and sent it back to him, and I said, okay, so there's probably no better historical precedent than the Petit Trianon for a French house. So here we are with a window that's exactly the size of the one that's at the Petit Trianon. Thank you for visiting our sunroom, and next we're going to go on to our foyer.
When we bought this house, when we first walked in, before we bought it, if you look at all this paneling, none of that was here. It was flat, dark paneling from the 60s. So
it was 4x8 sheets of plywood.
Yes,
is what it was.
Basically. And so we recreated all of these panels, which took a long time. The metal railing was just stock railing that had that was about that wide between each picket.
And the other thing that we did that I think is really clever here, the stairs for a house this size are not super wide.
Right.
But and when the pickets were set on the treads, it really closed the stairwell down. So when we did the new stair rail, we designed it so that the pickets attach to the skirt board, and it adds actually about 6 inches to the width of the stairs, so they feel much, much more gracious. And it also impacted the way that the hallway upstairs feels. The same way, it adds about 6 inches of width to the hallway.
And the stair was just covered in carpet, pink carpet. So we had to put all new wood down, and we just continued the heart of pine wood that we used in the living room on the stairwell.
Yeah.
And this painting is one of our favorite paintings. We had this when we were at the condo downtown. And when we had the condo downtown, we were looking for a large painting because our ceilings were like 18 foot high. So we wanted something large on an old brick loft condo. So we were at the antique market in Atlanta, and when we shop there, we usually split up because
I go slow
and I go pretty fast. So anyway, and you don't want to lose out on something, because as soon as they open, the best stuff sell to other dealers within the first 30 minutes. So splitting up is usually the best way to go. So I knew we wanted a large painting, and then I just happened on this. And so I called him and said, get over here to this booth. And this was the painting we chose. And what it depicts Jesus reading to the elders. There's Mary and Joseph, and it's probably Dutch.
Yes, Dutch. We think it came from a church in Florida, because the dealer
was a
Florida dealer, and he often had a lot of religious pieces that came out of churches in Florida.
And it wasn't in this condition. It just had like a horrible frame around it. We reframed it.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's probably been cut at some times, but because it is huge. And it was kind of like this house, a lot of houses wouldn't accommodate it, but this one did. And at the condo, we were on the 4th floor. To get it up, it would not fit in an elevator. So it had to be handed from floor to floor between the stairwells. Movers was just getting it up, and then to get it back here, had to do the same thing.
Took a little bit of engineering.
But that's one of our favorite pieces. So.
Yeah. And this chest here is actually one of my favorite pieces too. It was probably the first period French piece that we bought, I guess. And we bought it for this spot. And I love the carving on this. The ribbon is so sweet. And again, the color, that beautiful fruitwood color, and all the markings on the top. It's just got a great patina and a great history. And it's right. It's not been modified or added on to. It's got the original feet, which is hard because a lot of times the feet have rotted away and been replaced. So it's a good piece. This rug we bought just for this spot. It's a Bakhtiari, and the colors were just perfect for the colors of our house. And I love animals in rugs, and this has the leopards on each side, which kind of goes back to our love of the little animal prints.
We're the second owners of this house. And the original owners that we bought it from, they built the house, and they used a few antique elements, and the front door and the surround was from a house in Knoxville that was torn down, an older house.
Right when they were building.
Yeah, right when they were building this. And also
the pocket doors.
These pocket doors are out of that house also.
So these old elements do give the house, I think, a great sense of history. And you know, we tried to further that with the paneling, with the kitchen details, and the way that we fitted and finished the bathroom. So it really does have an authentic old school feel. I love the gallery wall in here that goes up the stairs. And it started out with just the two pieces in the middle, and then we added a little bit and added a little bit more. And that's kind of how we've done the whole house, actually. But it feels really good now that it's kind of complete. Welcome to the kitchen. So the kitchen is a space in the house where we made probably the most modifications to the original plan. It was divided into a small kitchen and a breakfast room. So we just took that wall out, kind of twirled some stuff around. My favorite thing in the kitchen is our refrigerator, and it's here on this wall. So we needed a pantry and we needed a refrigerator, and we couldn't really fit it into the space. So what we did, there's a closet behind this, and we took depth out of that closet so that we could recess the refrigerator here. So refrigerator here, and then this side is pantry. The island is another piece that, of course, was custom for the house along with the rest of the kitchen. But the blue color we felt like was a great marriage between the blues that we had used in the living room crossing over into this space. And so I think that that's a great way to carry your color scheme throughout. And then we used it again with the draperies and the valance that's here in this room. And I love the Rojo Alicante marble that's on the countertop. It's one of my favorites. And we really wanted a kitchen that felt authentically French. So in all of my research, there was always multiple countertop surfaces in true French kitchens. So we did a marble countertop on the island, a wood countertop at the sink, and limestone on either side of the range. And I think it's interesting. It's not for everyone, but I think it works in this house because it feels so authentic. So the breakfast table is, it's just a great old French oval table that we both love. And there's a couple of pieces of art in here in the kitchen that we both love very much. The piece here is from an artist named Jennifer Lashbrook, and it is done entirely with paint chips to create the painting. And if you look at it through your camera lens, it becomes totally clear and sharp. It's a fascinating piece in that the way that it's assembled and the way your phone camera changes it. I also love this piece of the Russian soldiers having a break in an orchard that's over the buffet here. It's really a wonderful Russian piece that we felt like looked great in the kitchen. Buffet, it's an 18th century quartered oak piece, and I just like the scale of it. It seems to work really well here because it's very shallow, and that's oftentimes hard to find in some of these French pieces because they do tend to be a lot deeper. The thing that I love most about this house is the privacy it offers and the space. Once you drive into the motor court, it feels like you're in another world. It's incredibly private, and it just feels like a safe sanctuary. I always feel comfortable here. Welcome to our powder room. This is a small room, and we wanted it to be very dramatic. So we used this black wallpaper from Brunswick and Fee as a background. It too has this sort of Asian motif in gold. And we added our collection of Joseph Delaney drawings in here. So all of these are from a local artist whose brother is actually really quite famous, Buford Delaney. But Joseph's work is very collectible as well. And so these are all new drawings from Joseph Delaney that are in here. We sort of went floor to ceiling with them. And then my favorite thing that we did that seemed to be perfectly irreverent with all these nudes is over the potty, we have the choir boy and these little nuns paired with our nudes in the bathroom. The black and white marble shower, I love it. It's just really classic and timeless. And I love the curb detail that we did here. Welcome into our den. This is an area where we used to watch TV and have dinner pretty much every night, but now it's just become kind of a cozy room for conversation since we kind of tend to use the family room downstairs more these days. But it's really a cozy space. I love it. We did a stucco wall texture. I love this painting by Mark Beard of the German hunter in Lederhosen. He's really a striking piece, and he looks, I think, great in here. He used to hang in our foyer, but it's one of those things that we bought another Mark Beard that's now in the foyer, and we moved him to in here. An interesting feature in this room is the fireplace. This is an antique marble fireplace. It's a period Louis XVI style fireplace that we bought in Paris. But we bought this when we didn't even have a fireplace. It was just kind of set up in my office downtown as a faux little fireplace. And when we bought this house, we thought, I think that thing's going to fit in here because there was no mantle in this room at all. There was just an opening for the firebox. And it fit perfectly. When we got it assembled finally here, we realized it was missing a piece of marble. And so what was I going to do? Because you could never get this. So my dad actually made the missing piece out of wood, and then Daryl, our faux finish artist, painted it. The thing that gives the home a soul is the people who live in it. And if you can't express your personality with your interior, then I think that that's where homes start to feel vapid and don't have a warm, comfortable feeling. I think this house, although it may not be somebody's personal style, I understand that. And I don't care if it appeals to anyone other than Bobby and I. That doesn't matter. And I think that that's the way that interior design should be for everyone, is that your home should reflect who you are, who you want to be, who you like, and you should be surrounded with the things that you love that make you feel good. Welcome to our family room. This is a space that functions in multiple ways for us because it's cozy where Bobby's got his sofa, I've got mine, the TV's down here, the fireplace is down here, Jackson's chilling out by the fire right now. And it also has a partner's desk where we can both work. So this is where we work in the evenings on paperwork or drawings or whatever we're doing at home at night. And it's just a really functional space. We did another cabinet of curiosities down here. It was a really designed as a solution for an awkward air duct vent that we could not get rid of. So we just sort of tucked it into, the duct made the room feel low. So we just paneled the top of that and did the cabinetry underneath it. And it really solved that problem. It added scale and volume to the room, so the room doesn't feel so short now. And it gave us a place to put a lot of our collection of stuff. The floor in here is, it's a porcelain tile, but we did it when we moved in so that it felt like an old saltillo tile floor like you would have in an old French house. And the saltillo tile at the time was out of our budget. So this was as close as we could get, but I'm happy with the choice. It does add a lot of character here, and it works really, really well for what this space is used for. And being right off the pool, it is a great serviceable surface for that. This is a fun little area because you can sit here, enjoy the view of the pool, you know, check your email, all that sort of stuff that we do every day. But it's a fun place to sit and watch kind of the world outside. And this is a place in the summer where the cats kind of hang out here because it's a great window to the outside. And in the winter, they tend to hang out a little bit more around the fireplace. But summertime, they're here by these windows looking out at the pool. This is a fun chair. These are from Hickory Chair, and it's covered in a Jim Thompson fabric. I think it's just a fun little modern addition down here. And I try to do that. You know, we try to keep it updated so we don't feel stodgy around here. And a few little pieces of modern upholstery, a little bit of modern art goes a long way to giving you an updated feel. You've seen our family room, and now let's go up to our primary suite. Welcome to our bedroom. This room feels very cozy to me. It is a really gracious size room, but a dark room, you lose the sense of corner, so it does add to the spacious feeling of it. It's kind of a special space that I feel like is very soothing and restful. The leopard carpet is both, I think, stylish, but it's incredibly practical. You know, we have 3 cats, and cats throw up, and leopard is a great camouflage for that. It's clean. You don't have to worry about, you know, there's not anything on it, but sometimes a stain doesn't want to come fully out. And if you're in between cleanings, it's nice to have something that camouflages it. So this is both practical, I think, and stylish. I basically like to do a white bed because I think that that is really easy and it looks always fresh and simple. So we made a blanket out of a toile that looks really pretty with our color palette, and lined it in a silk and just keep the sheets all white. And this is a fun pillow. Bobby found this at an antique shop. It's actually an old rug, and it had all these sweet little cats on it. And at the time, this was the number of cats that we had had in our life. So, you know, each of them has a name. And so it's just got a little sentimental value to us. This is our primary bathroom. And we wanted a room that felt like the Ralph Lauren showroom in Chicago. So we clad everything in mahogany. We did the simple black and white marble floor. And I think it works great. I love our shower. We use marble slab on the wall, so there's no grout. Even the bench is, you know, just one slab of marble. Heated the floor, even the bench is heated in the shower. So it just feels like a really nice, luxurious space. Home to me means that my family is around. So we live both here in this house and in a condo that is above the Tennessee Theater in downtown Knoxville. And so home, both of these places feel like home to me because that's where Bobby is. That's where the cats are. And so it feels like home because everyone is together in that space. Bye, Homeworthy. It's been great fun showing you around our home here in Knoxville, Tennessee, but it's time for you to go.
Hello, Homeworthy. I'm Tara. Welcome to my home in New Orleans.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
My name's Tara Shaw. I'm from New Orleans. I want to welcome you to my home. I'm a designer, importer, and author. I first saw this home when I moved to New Orleans in the late 90s, and it was under construction then. It took about 3.5 years for the owner to build it. It's a Haussmannian style home. The fellow that had it built was a Francophile. He had seen the home when he was in France. He hired an architect, Barry Fox, to design the home. It was steel frame construction, all hand-laid stucco. So it was the most amazing process. I would walk by this home and watched the transformation over 3.5 years. And they put that beautiful slate roof on top with the mansard roof. And it was just love at first sight for me. And I kept thinking, I would love to build a house like this. Well, it went on the market in 2004. And my realtor invited me. It was more than I wanted to really spend on a home. And she said, why don't you just come look at it? And when I came, it was just like a beehive of realtors all working their phones. And I thought, well, you know, I'll never get this home because it's really out of my budget. But the house did not sell. And I drove back around. I saw it was still for sale. I called my realtor and they said, would you please submit an offer, which I did. So I bought the house in 2004 as a single woman. I was so excited. The house hadn't completely been finished, so I started working on bathrooms, just, you know, how do you eat the elephant? Well, it was really one bite at a time. But because I'm an importer, I had so much furniture. So I easily filled this home, and it has been my test kitchen this whole time. Like, I'll test out things I would never test in a client's home here. So it's been a wonderful ride. And I got to create a sanctuary here that I just love pulling into. Okay, welcome to the living room. You know, my husband and I and our Whippets spend the majority of our time in this room when we're downstairs. Now, this portion of the living room is anchored with this beautiful custom molding in this alcove that has 3 French doors. What I love about them is you can just open these and walk out to the pool or keep them open. And you can hear the fountains in the background that are so soothing. The anchor in this room is this fabulous table. I bought this in Le Mans, France at a déboulage. It looked nothing like this, but it is filled with wormholes, which actually helped me date a piece of furniture. So I know this is from the 18th to 19th century. It's got a bronze jardiniere on top that will keep filled with fresh flowers. The sconces are Empire. I just love anything with a face or a hoof or a paw. Now, the art, to balance this out, you're going to need big contemporary art for me to really work in a space. And I have a pair of these David Corinos. You know, it's a fascinating history on his art. They all tell stories. Actually, he would get letters from Helen Keller and all these famous authors, and he would then do a contemporary imprint of this for a large scale painting. So I anchored the room with 2 of these. You know, I bought this piano. It was one of the first things I ever purchased. And I am still on page 16 of Alfred Dunner's book 1. Can you believe that? But still, I love looking at it. It's a piece of art for me. In the corner, we have a mid-century Swedish chaise from Arne Norell, one of my favorite designers, and a clock from England that is sexy and heavily carved. The banquette in the second half of our living room is 18th century Swedish. This is the original patina. You know, I refer to Swedish furniture as the classic white shirt. Timeless, elegant, mixes well with other periods and styles, covered in a mohair, 4 Tuni pillows. As you come this way, for century, I did a Belgian sofa. This is the essential key to comfort in this room because it just surrounds you with that down and foam cushion, and it's perfect two-person dog sofa. And just add whippets is my key to comfort. In the coffee table, this is Gaia Lenti, and she was one of my favorite architects, and then she got into furniture. So I'm proud to have one of her tables. She was a mid-century hero of mine. This is David Borgeling. He is a New Orleans artist, and I like to use, locals' work if I can, whenever I can in design projects. I like to see these glass eyes that are on this 18th century Spanish mirror. But, one of the things I like about antiques is they're not pristine. I didn't try and make it pristine. I want to live with the imperfections because basically that's what my life is filled with. And this is Sister's toy box. If you lift this, you are going to see years of toys in here. One of the things that I will always have in my purse is probably a dog toy or a dog treat. And these are Italian processional batons. Now, this would be 17th century. They've got mirrors in that gilded finish, hand-carved gilded finish. Now, they would carry these before the king or before a pope. So I just like the history there, just leaning on the wall. Now, the chaise is French and comfortable. When they were working on mid-century furniture, it was really all about the ergonomic form. So, love that. And this houses our television. So this is an 18th century Italian armoire that has been fitted for our TV. So, and for our Sonos, I should have French music playing in the background though. So I like it. I'll hide televisions and all sorts of stuff in an armoire. So super practical for me. So to keep neutrals interesting, I think that's where you layer in patterns. So whether it's the Fortuny print, and my texture and interest in the room is with different fabrics that you can actually read with your eyes. And of course, interesting art. So there's that balance. You have mohairs and plush faux furs, textural prints that would encompass African tribal feel. And I think that bouclés, which will never go out of style, and leathers add to that element of just luxury without having color. What I love about the home is it is very elegant and stately, but it is extremely casual once you enter into the front doors. And it is relaxed elegance. I lost the roof of the house during Hurricane Ida 2 years ago. And so basically, I thought I was finished with the home at that time. But what I did was I turned that lemon into lemonade, and I just redid so many of the rooms, just re-envisioned them. And my favorite room in the house is really the kitchen. There is 17th century Sicilian limestone floor that does not have two single floor tiles that are the same size. So basically it was like putting together a big jigsaw puzzle. I put in old beams from a barn that was in Texas into the ceiling, and it's got the rounded bottom. So, the interesting thing about those long beams that are 26 feet long is the rounded part was really on the ground of the barn. So it's got this rough hewn feel mixed with contemporary cabinetry. Welcome to my favorite room in the house. This is the kitchen. So really, this was my jumping off point after Hurricane Ida. So I started with this 17th century Sicilian limestone floor, and there are no two pieces that are the same size. So this was a rather large puzzle for me. And then anchored it with this Italian range. And I feel that the knobs on it are like jewelry. And then I bought these slabs of marble that we could book match and just hide the hood, create this beautiful visual that looks like it starts from the bottom of the marble and continues up. Now the cabinets are not really black. They are a striated finish, meaning this was hand done by a person, and you can see all the gray undertones. And, you know, no two cabinets are really consistent. It was an organic process that really went back with the floor, but I wanted the gray in these to connect to the marble. In the kitchen, I have antique cutting boards from Italy. And then as you come this way, this is a soapstone. So this stone originally is like a medium gray. So we created, you had to get slabs really long enough to make this. So it's imperative if you're trying to do a kitchen, you don't want to piece together your slabs. But so we lined the sinks with the same stone and didn't really do a waterfall, had a break in the leg. And so this is where I hide like my Fisher-Paykel dishwashers. I love washing, whether it's dishwashing, clothes washing, everything has multiples. When you come this way, you're going to see, I took out the cabinetry here and created with a company here in New Orleans, just this brass shelving. And so we did the same thing here, is we did marble on the bottom of the shelves as well as the top of the shelves, carried it all the way up to the wooden molding. And this is a collection that I started from Belgium. This is stoneware. So there are cake plates and tureens and pitchers. And then this is actually just organic plates that we use just every day that have an organic feel to them. This is by Be Home. So we continued the marble on this side of the kitchen and also lined the sink in the marble. So light is filtering in from a Conrad shade. I have a Swedish plinth pedestal there in marble. So the room feels extremely warm, especially when you are looking at the ceiling, because I added these beams that came from an old Texas barn, and they had this rough-hewn organic feel. So it feels collected and layered, even though it is a neutral. And I think the movement in the stones and the difference in the floor adds so much warmth. The fireplaces in the home are made out of limestone, very minimal burn logs, and the mirror over the fireplace is part of my Century collection. We do that not only in the gold tone, we also do it in the silver. But you're going to see a cupboard where I house more stoneware because, as you can tell, not only am I an importer, I'm a collector. So this cabinet is from Belgium. This tureen is 18th century from Italy. This is old stoneware from the 16th century. in this soft stone with angels on it. And we actually use these and use plates when we are entertaining. So nothing is really off limits. This is an 18th century Swedish table. And what I like about it is it has the original patina. We did nothing to it. So this would be the original blue-gray. And I like the way that this was so used that it's worn off. And you're going to see the iron V's that actually hold the table together. What I did to make the table feel current is we added these Plattner chairs, mid-century Plattners. You know, they're great for comfort. They're iconic. And the clock is 18th century Swedish. The painting is one of the first things I bought many, many years ago in the 90s. The antique dealer actually gave me a payment plan. So I wanted it and paid him like in 3 terms for this beautiful painting by Trullebeer. So you can see the basket in the background, the fish, and then the provincial pottery. The chandeliers that are hanging in the kitchen above the island are mid-century Swedish. And what was so interesting about this artist is all the glass blowers at the time rejected him because he had bubbles in his glass. But, you know, he went on to become a Swedish icon. So I was excited to have, they're not really a pair, but they are a pair. So that's what I love about antiquity. Okay, we are in the formal dining room, and yes, we do use the formal dining room, but I just love scale, not only in contemporary art, but also when I can find it in antique art. This painting is from the 16th century. The Italian artist captured Esther, who is in the Old Testament, appearing before the king. And these are all her courtiers. And it's actually one of my favorite stories in the Bible. So I was extremely excited when I got to purchase this painting. So underneath it, we have a Swedish 18th century bench covered in a tobacco mohair. And then the bolsters are just a rough Swedish organic cloth that they would use as sackcloth. The buffet is where I house a ton of stuff. It is 1839, and you can see that they repainted it. And what I love is that the Nielsen's got it in 1965. So typically they would inherit this from their parents, and then they would repaint sometimes the interior and the exterior. I was fortunate that the Nielsen's did not repaint the exterior. So this is where I hide all sorts of things. So Christmas, I'm telling you, there's no telling what you'll find in here. It's like a treasure trove. Sometimes I don't know what's in there. So it's always good to just forage through there for vases. So this buffet decor anchors the space. You know, in a room, when I'm designing the room, I always work with height. I have staggered height, whether I need tall pieces to balance out the lower pieces. This is a Swedish bergère, but we use this table. My husband is number 8 of 10 children, and we use this big round table with all these chairs for not only dining, because when we hosted Christmas, we had 30 people, but you know, someone will claim this table. Afterwards, we'll play a game called Left, Right, Center, which is a card game. It's absolutely hilarious. And a table this size, which is 72 inches of a mid-century table, is the perfect thing for rolling dice. But Here we have one of my favorite chairs, Savonarola, another mid-century layered into the piece. This is David Lappin. He is from, or he was from Alabama. I don't quite know where he is now. We have it on an iron plinth. And then the anchor in this corner of the room is this beautiful limestone plaster mirror. We have it in the Century Furniture line. I just took these 2 lamps from my showroom, so basically I could be my best customer. And this is a mid-century, like one-off piece that I found in the fields in Avignon, France, my last trip. It is all on top of Italian console that is from the 1700s that has beautiful water gilding. But so, you know, I like the imperfection of it. So it's missing some leaves, but it's just what I want to come home to. You know, as you collect, and because I work in Europe, I am constantly shipping in big 40-foot containers. So I will add pieces, you know, European mid-century, or swap out an antique and put it in my showroom, which is 2 blocks away, to sell. So the I would say the style of the home is European contemporary with heroes in every room. In other words, every room is anchored with an antique. We work around it with mid-century and add some casual contemporary seating, and that's the vibe of my tribe. So welcome to my office. This is like the hub of creativity. I re-envisioned this after I lost the roof. It was a red Pecky cypress, and this took many, many coats of bleach to take the red out of the floor and also my bookshelves. But I love the way it turned out. We use this Bona product that's like gives it an organic finish, so it's a matte finish. I started collecting books when I was working in the fields in Europe in 1994. This was my first set I brought in, and you know, I have been on a roll ever since then. What's the super anchor in this room are the prehistoric fragments. Now, my mother started that collection for me with these prehistoric scapula. I got those when I was a teenager, and they were like in a shoebox size. And I thought, oh my gosh, my mom got me shoes for my birthday, but it wasn't shoes. I opened the lid. It was prehistoric scapula. And I just looked at her, and I guess she could probably judge the disappointment because, you know, I wanted shoes. And she said, you know, one day that's going to be art for you. So I appreciate that. You know, to this day, I remember that because when I started seeing these collections in Europe, I started purchasing them. And then I buy these old vellum tombs. Most of these come from Italy, but some of these tombs are from 13th century, 14th century. You know, at that time, they would use hides and skins to cover their books. I mean, that's before we went into these leathers. So I'm a collector of boxes as well because I like to put things in boxes. I'm always looking for places to hide my stuff when people come over and video. But so I encourage clients to start a collection. I think that's one of the most fun things because I'll be traveling throughout Europe and I'll bring back several things for myself to add to my collections. And so you have this great memory of travels. Now this is a Swedish, it's called a tub sofa. And because it's the shape of a bathtub, the coffee table here is French brutalist. So you see that tension between that mid-century brutalist back with the soft form of the Swedish. And then, you know, it's a working office. I've gotten, you know, printers and all nonsense in here that we have to have just for really function. And these are superb man chairs. These are mid-century Italian, covered in a texture as well. Men get in it, don't want to leave. They kind of like the office too. I think this is one of the rooms that I probably get the most comments about is my office. They like the collection. They like the fact that I had painted the bottom of this cabinetry. I did what most people won't do. I love to take risks. So we bleached the top and I painted the bottom in satin. And as we come this way in my office, you're going to see my desk. It's French from the 1800s, really a working desk. And the secretary is from Lucca, Italy. So the sheep mid-century right here, if you can see him. I have a thing for sheep. So we are just part of this eclectic, but you know, there's a lot of continuity here with the rest of the home because I redid all the floors in that organic Bona finish. And so it tied it all together because there's that thread of black. So I hope you like the office. I hope it inspires you in some way. Now we are leaving my office, transitioning into the entry of the home. It has limestone floors. The center diamond is in a Paradiso marble. Now, this chandelier that anchors the stairwell is 18th century Italian, has a loss of paint and gilding, and you see that rough iron. We did a French wire in there to electrify it. So I'm constantly bringing in chandeliers that are one-offs. I had one of my biggest chandelier finds this last trip. So I'm looking for things like this that are like one-of-a-kinds. These contemporary totems are from Evelyn Jordan. They're a New Orleans artist. What I like is the balance of the contemporary with the Italian Medici console, original conforming marble. It has the family crest on it. This is a Roman soldier from the 1400s. A French oval mirror. You know, they didn't do many oval mirrors back then. The powder room downstairs houses a painting from Italy, 1503. I found it in Alba, Italy. I created this marble pedestal base for this stone sink that my husband and we've bought a bunch of these basins when we were in Avignon. I did a little pressure washing. Contemporary sconces flanked by a bronze mirror, and the jewelry in the room is the mid-century Swedish chandelier. So I went to college to be a teacher, and I had a minor in psychology. I stood in front of a second grade student teaching class. I knew at that moment I was probably not called to teach children. I had a meeting with myself and I thought, what do I spend all my money on? It was fashion. So I pivoted and I followed my heart. I flew to New York. I went to the garment district. I started representing several lines. I opened a showroom in Dallas, Texas. Then I opened a second showroom. I had reps traveling for me. Really, the point in that career in the fashion industry was about the 5 to 7 year mark, where I started reading World of Interiors. Lisa Newsom had just started Veranda. So one of the lines that I represented was purchased by Liz Claiborne, which gave me the money to buy one nice piece of furniture a year. So I was trying to figure out who I was in furniture. I believe I always had that passion because, you know, as a child, I had a black faux fur bedspread with a mid-century leopard print banquette when I was 7 years old. I don't know where that came from, but obviously it was in my DNA. So I thought, well, I can buy one nice piece of furniture a year, you know, in this apparel industry, or I can start going to Europe and using my apparel model, which is selling wholesale. And I thought, well, why not do that? And then keep one piece, a container for myself. I thought that's the way I can really furnish my home. I saw Farrah Fawcett's home, and she had like this 17th century Italian secretary with a side Twombly over it. And at that point, I was absolutely smitten. So I headed off to Europe, and I shipped into my first container, and we shipped it into a mini storage on Tchoupitoulas, which is a street that runs along the river here in New Orleans. And it was all word of mouth at that time. And I rolled up the 10 by 30 roll-up doors, and everything sold in about 10 minutes. And I thought, you know what, I really might be onto something here with furniture importing. So I never looked back at that moment. I started importing, and then that door literally opened the door for me to design. Follow me upstairs, and I'm going to show you the primary bedroom. Welcome to our bedroom. So really, this is a bedroom for three. My husband, Robert Walsh, and our whippet, Sister Luca. She sleeps right in the middle of us, in between those two pillows. So this is one of the beds that I make in my furniture line, Terre Maison. It is just a two-tone contemporary bed, but it is the balance, the juxtaposition to the 18th century Swedish bench that's at the foot of the bed. This is covered in a beautiful cravat couture mohair. We have a 19th century French chest. Love this hardware. And this is the original bronze. The lamps are Swedish mid-century. This painting I bought when I was in Parma, Italy, the last time I was there. And it's just serenity for me. Love climbing those stairs at the end of a long day. And if you look this way, this is another local artist, Rain Bledsoe. And this has, I had her add this crystal. This is chandelier crystal from chandeliers that we had excess crystal over all the years. So there's some connectivity to the business there with this boat that is suspended really from fishing wire. As we come to this portion of the room, you know, we do watch television to go to sleep at night, and it's hidden behind this fabulous Empire armoire. This is one of the first pieces I bought when I was in Europe. We have mid-century brutalist lamps in here. The balance are these beautiful Swedish mid-century chairs. This is Spanish, a Spanish marble coffee table. And then the daybed is Swedish from the 1700s. I'm always collecting small objects when I'm in the field. I bought this iron crown in Parma, Italy. And this is just a rare French apothecary that they would literally put medicines in way back when. My husband and I got married in 2017. Remember, I bought this house in 2004. And I think the reason we've had a successful marriage is because I have my bathroom and dressing room, and he has his bathroom and dressing room. He had been a bachelor of 46 years, so I'm sure you can just envision what that looks like. But this is the space where I come in, I close the door. Now the paneling I added, these 3 panels came from a shipment. I bought them in the south of France. I didn't have enough paneling, so we added pine in here because this was the original material of this panel, and then did French molding. So when I bought this house, this was a giant jacuzzi in here. So I took that out. We created an alcove here, and with this incredible 18th century paneling, and it totally transformed the room. There's a soaking tub, a hatbox toilet, so it won't hide the beautiful panels. Now, if you look this way, this is an 18th century console that was created to be my vanity. We drilled through the marble, added a marble mortar bolt, drilled through that, contemporary plumbing, 18th century mirror, contemporary sconces, and so this is my get away from it all Calgon moment. Now what I did here was I added plaster on the shower. So all of our showers are super minimal. So this is all hand plastered, and it has a continuity of the herringbone floor in marble. This is a Thassos, hone Thassos, that runs straight into the shower. But one of the things I like to do is have connectivity in rooms. So in a lot of the bathrooms, you're going to see herringbone stone. You know, I have certainly run out of inspiration and gas, and I'm like this, I have nothing to give right at this moment. What am I going to do? I get a lot of my ideas in my sleep. I was working on a project for Emerald and Alden Lagasse. I'd worked on 3 homes with them, and literally the answer to this bathroom dilemma that we had was I got it in my sleep. So I think just going away and downtime, a lot of my inspiration though comes from Europe, because I will be there 3 to 5 weeks at a time. I'll be traveling through 3 countries, and I'm basically taking things that were so inspiring to me and then filtering them through my American design aesthetic. This is one of our guest bedrooms, and I am a big fan of a canopy bed. I call it Instant Safe Haven. This Venetian canopy bed I created for Century Furniture, so it just launched in their line this fall. And it has a beautiful Venetian movement on the headboards. And this is in heavy Belgian linen. The table is Italian, minimal, directoire. Now, I like grisaille, so I'm always searching for it. Now, this is a very unusual one because it's, instead of the brown, which they call brunei, this is a dark grisaille. It has all hand-painted frame around it in a geometric pattern. Now, this cute little secretary on stand is Italian, lots of hidden drawers, and just a one-of-a-kind find. You know, the thing that makes you smile every time you look at it. In the corner of the guest bedroom is Eames Chase. So it is the perfect balance to that Italian 18th century secretary. This is a Swedish mirror with the original glass, and that is King Gustav carved in the center of the mirror. And basically, King Gustav revolutionized the furniture industry in Sweden because Sweden was importing furniture during his reign. He put a stop to that, and he created all of the small craftsmen to start making Sweden's own furniture. So we have him to thank for that. The armoire, which is French and 18th century, houses a television, of course. And this is another favorite for me, Arne Norell in a Swedish mid-century chair. So wanted to give a guest something super comfortable to relax in during their stay. Something unexpected, too, is always the best thing for a guest bedroom. So take a tour with me in the back garden. One of the things about this property is that it was a triple lot. So I knew I could build a lap pool. This is a saltwater lap pool. Added the fountains because I wanted to be in the middle of the city. I'm in a walking distance to restaurants and Whole Foods and the park, but yet you would never know it because once you come into this back garden, it's like you are in total privacy. The table is a Belgian bluestone, base is mid-century. The pots are from the south of France. They're from a town called Biot. And we have fruit trees, we have kumquat trees. And then in this area, I have orange trees and satsuma trees. But what I did was I anchored the garden with my favorite things, like on the coping of the pool, I added a pair of Sphinx. Now, you know, Napoleon was crazy about Egypt, and so that particular form came from the Napoleonic reign. We had this woman that I found in Bordeaux. She is amazing. She's in a sandstone from the 1700s. And if you just look this way, we are planted with about 17 or 18 Savannah hollies. I just put those in after the last hurricane, but I'd love to show you a seating area. So this is the reading and relaxing area under the umbrella. So the table is from the Renaissance, stone from the Renaissance. And then these are also little capitals from the Renaissance. So I believe antiques are made to be lived with, loved, and don't you think they really complement the contemporary, comfortable furnishings? I think they add this layer of warmth and sophistication. Just exactly what I need on a Saturday. I think the key to soul is for it to be a reflection of you or a client. I think their collected travels, the things that are important to them, it's the soul of the home. So your home is not like anyone else's home. It reflects you. Home, for me, is the place where I unwind, I feel comfortable, I let all the cares of the day or my work life, I leave them behind. I close the door, I press the clicker on the garage, and you know, it's just this comforting feel where you don't have all these distractions. What I love about working in neutrals is it gives me this calm feel, and that's what I'm looking for in a home. Homeworthy, that was so much fun. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking the tour with me. But I have a flight to catch, and I will see you next time.
Hello, Homeworthy. My name is Sally Drawn. I want to welcome you to my home in Macon, Georgia. Come on in and let me show you around.
You're watching Homeworthy, where we believe every home has a story.
Scan the QR code to subscribe to our new channel, Wedding Worthy, where we celebrate amazing couples and the love stories behind their perfect day.
I'm Sally Drawn. I live in Macon, Georgia. I'm an interior designer. I own Previews Interiors and Antiques. Welcome to my home. We lived across the street from this house about 23 years ago. The children that lived in the home that was on this property came running over to our house. Our house was always the neighborhood hangout. I thought they were just coming in to play. They started screaming their house was on fire. I looked out the window and it was. At first I thought they were kidding. Before calling 911, I screamed at my children who were upstairs to come down to hold on to these kids to make sure they didn't come running back to get any of their things. Called 911, then I called their parents. I knew where they had gone. The mom was at a meeting and the dad had gone to get dinner. This was before cell phones. It was hard to get in touch with people. I did get in touch with the mom at the meeting. I called her, told her her house was on fire. The only thing she said was, "Have you got my children?" And I said, "I do, and they're safe." And the house burned to the ground. Years later, we bought the property and we built a totally different house. I had been going to Europe a lot buying antiques. I saw a house similar to this, made out of this kind of stone, had a slate roof, and went from there. I love the way when you walk in the front door of this house, it's very open. You can see all the way through to the backyard, which is beautiful. We have a view of the golf course, which just makes my husband very happy. He is an avid golfer, and it's open. You walk in and you can see, when you walk all the way to the back door, you can see into every room. The openings are wide. I love the way it flows. We enjoy entertaining. Our children love this home. Our grandchildren have loved it. They've slid up and down the staircase. They've gone out on the balcony upstairs. They've actually gotten locked out there one time when my husband was keeping our grandchildren, but it all ended well. So yes, we have enjoyed this home. We live in this home. Welcome to our foyer. As you can see, it goes up. It's two-story. One of my favorite things about this foyer are the beams. I saw beams like this in Italy, and I thought they were fabulous. I took pictures, came back, had the boxes built. They're just plywood boxes up there, not real beams. And they were painted, obviously, on the floor, not up there. And Carol Poe painted them, and I think she did a great job. They faded a little bit through the years and improved with age. And I have enjoyed this circular staircase. So many people think it's very hard to put a pattern rug like this Ushak, but it can be done if you have a talented installer. I love the mix of modern and very traditional in this foyer. You can see these chairs have the acrylic arms, and this is a very old settee with a white cowhide on it. I bought these chandeliers in Italy, as well as the matching sconces. I don't always like matchy-matchy, but these were so incredible, I just couldn't resist. I think this bookcase is incredible. It was the top of a buffet. The bottom part was destroyed, so I rescued the top. It was in a big old warehouse. Didn't pay a lot for it, and I just think it works so well in this foyer since it's very narrow. Love this little niche under the stairway. I've caught my grandchildren sitting in this chair many times reading a book. Love to entertain. My husband and I both love to entertain, and I have this bar here that's made out of an old French armoire. Just added the cabinetry below and the marble, and if I don't want to see it, I can always close it up, but I do think it's pretty, so I leave it open most of the time. The glassware in here is William Yoward. It's my favorite. It is so gorgeous. It's made in England, and it's all hand etched. I think it's so pretty. And on the top shelves, I have porcelain displayed. Porcelain, to me, is beautiful in any room. You can't reach glasses on the top shelves, so you might as well have something up there that's pretty. And over here, I found this little statue. I call him Don Quixote, and I just think he's great here by the back door. Right here, I have this window box. I bought it not knowing where I would use it. I found it in an antique shop. And when we were going through the plans of this house, the only place to put the sink was against a blank wall. So I thought, I want to look at a window. So we had this leaded glass window made, and I think it works great. When we were doing these house plans, I really wanted a large foyer, and I think this works perfectly. I love walking in the front door, seeing all the way through to the back, and when we entertain, it just works beautifully. Some people will head to the dining room, some to the kitchen keeping room, on into the living room. And when the house was built, all this ironwork was black. Recently, well, I guess a couple of years ago, I had a Macon artist paint it the silver and gold. It always had the little brass touches, and I think it's so pretty. Art doesn't always have to be a painting. For instance, I found these shutters in Indonesia. I went there to have my kitchen cabinets carved over 25 years ago. That was quite an experience. I'll get into it when we get into the kitchen. But I love art. And anytime I find something, I buy it if I can afford it. And this was one of the first pieces I had for the foyer. We have always had golden retrievers, and I had no intention. We were on a trip, had no intention of buying art, but there I found this painting of the golden retrievers, and I couldn't resist. And this I found in Highlands at an art gallery, and I just thought she was perfect. Putting on her makeup, dressed in orange, and next to it, as I said, you don't always have to have a painting. I love the metal wall hanging. We absolutely felt like we were building our forever home. I think the style of this house is really a cross between French and Italian. I love the extreme dormers on the outside. I love the angles. I love the symmetry. The symmetry of this house is very important to me. And it is our forever home. We have no intention of leaving. As we enter the dining room, please notice this arch. I have several of them around the house. I saw an arch like this in a castle in Europe, brought a picture of it back, did a little drawing, and my contractor made plywood molds so he could recreate them. I think they're very interesting. This wall covering in here makes me happy every time I look at it. It's Mural Source by Paul Montgomery, Enchanted Garden. It just has the most beautiful colors in it to me. It's so happy. Bought this table in Europe years ago, and it's made out of parquet from old flooring. I think it's very interesting, and I love all the inlay. This table is great. It seats as it is. I can get 10 people around it, and with a leaf and a pinch, I can get 14, squeezed in 12 comfortably. So it's so great for entertaining. Love to have dinner parties. I love to cook. In fact, I have a little cookbook. It's called really Begged, Borrowed, and Stolen. Some of the recipes I made up. Some I borrowed from friends, and some are actually stolen. So it's a fun cookbook. It's a cookbook where you would have everything you would ever want in the shelves in your kitchen, rather than recipes. When you read them, you think, what is that ingredient? Those aren't for me. I bought these doors also in Europe. I was able to have all these things shipped back because I was buying antiques for my shop then. Antiques were hot and heavy 25 years ago. Fortunately, they're coming back. I found this sideboard there too. And as I've told you in the past, I like to mix contemporary with very traditional, as you see with this orange sculpture. And I wanted you to notice the flowers I did here. I'm having people over tonight, so we'll have a little cocktail party. And as you know, when you have a cocktail party, your flowers can go as high and wonderful as you want them to be. And I wanted this to look like a rose garden. I found this bowl, it's by Napa, and I put oasis in it and just stuck the roses in there so they could appear to be a garden. So let's talk about the lighting in the room. These lamps here, I love them because they're so different, and they're wildwood lamps, so you can still get these. They still make them. Over here, I did find these at Scott's, an antique market in Atlanta, and I just think they're so great. The chandelier was one of the original things I picked up for the house. It's a reproduction. I think it's so pretty in this room. The rug in here is an old Mahal rug. It's very faded, which is part of why I loved it. In fact, when I loved it so much, it almost goes wall to wall in this room, but I never found one I liked any better, so I'm just happy with the size. Coming from the dining room to the butler's pantry, I keep all my china here and open it up. These are old doors from a French linen press. And my favorite is this. It's a Mataheta pattern. You can get it now. It's not anything old, but I love the coloration. And there are 4 different patterns on the salad plates. All my favorite colors. This was my husband's grandmother's tea service. It's sterling silver, and it's just one of our prized possessions. And as I've told you, I love mixing contemporary. So I have this art here that you might not expect coming off this gorgeous wall covering, but here it is. I think it adds a lot of interest and a little bit of a surprise. I would say the most important thing about my style is I stress in every house I do, I like a casual elegance. I want everyone who walks into a home to feel like they can sit on any piece of furniture. I don't want them to worry about messing up anything. I don't want so many pillows on a sofa that you have to move them before you can sit and be comfortable. I want everyone to feel welcome in my home or any home that I design. I like mixing contemporary with very traditional. I stress to my young clients, don't get rid of all these antiques you're inheriting and get all white furniture. But it's so much fun to throw in antiques and mix them with something contemporary art, acrylic pieces. There's just no end to the interest you can create. I always want surprises in every room, something totally unexpected. And yes, I do like color. My favorite color's always been orange, but I like lots of colors. And it's just, I love animal prints. People ask me, do you think animal prints are ever going out of style? No, they have been around forever and will always be here. And sometimes I'll put 2 or 3 animal prints in one room, back to back. I like layers upon layers. We have heart pine floors throughout the rest of the house, but I knew that wouldn't work for me in a kitchen. As I've said, I love to cook, and I'm a messy cook. I like to fry shrimp, make onion rings, all sorts of stuff, and I have flour on the floor, so I had to have something durable. And here I found these brick pavers that I think give a great look, a warm look, work well coming off the heart pine. I went to Indonesia to have my kitchen cabinets carved. I know that sounds like a stretch, and it was. I couldn't believe that I was actually doing it, particularly after I got there and got very ill. But I went with another girl that I barely knew, and when we got there, she had another agenda, so I was sort of on my own for the 2 weeks we were there. But I hired a guide who took me to some wood carvers. I knew they were in Indonesia, and that was the whole purpose of my trip, because I'd been enamored with some of their carvings I had seen in the States. I have pictures right here of going to the wood carver, and that's me about 28 years ago. And if my shirt looks wet, it is, because as you know, Indonesia is right on the equator. These are the guys drawing the plans for my kitchen cabinets. I went over there with a plan for how big every door had to be. So they just did the doors, and the guts of the cabinets were made here. They also made some molding for some places in my house. There's some of this in the living room. And then this mantle you see here, I brought back. It actually was not a mantle. It was part of a room divider going from one room to another. It was the sides were much taller, so it acted like an arch in between rooms. They obviously don't have fireplaces in Indonesia. It's way too hot. So the cabinets, for years, I had left them the color of same color as right here. They were made of mahogany. I had two choices. In Indonesia, they have mahogany and they have teak. Those are their primary woods. And they were beautiful, and for about 20 years, they were the brown wood. And then one night, I just thought, I'm tired of looking at them. I want some color in here. This room's dark. So I had all kinds of paint in the garage. And I just started pouring colors together in a bucket and ended up with this blue color, which I really like. And then took it to the paint store the next day and said, I need some more of this, and they matched it. I recently had this room painted just a bare wash of green. My husband still says he can't tell it's green, but I know it is. And I think it adds a lot. Obviously, my cabinets do not go to the ceiling, so I added all this art above to take your eye up. This piece of glass right here is from Global Views. They still have it, and I really have enjoyed looking at it. It catches the light so well. I have marble countertops. A lot of people say they don't like marble in kitchens, but as I've said, I'm a cook. And I have had this marble for a long time, and I still love it. It has red wine spilt on it. I just take Comet or Clorox, comes right up. The beams in here are made out of untreated telephone poles. And then I had someone kind of hand hewn them to make them not look quite as smooth. The ceiling has a stucco effect. We have this fabric is Kelly Wearstler, and I had a laminate covering put on it because this is where we eat all the time, and my grandchildren, and everybody spills things, and I can just wipe them off. I ordered these long hinges, which you see a lot on old French armoires. I ordered them from LB Brass, and I've enjoyed them a lot. I mentioned earlier that when we were doing the plans for this kitchen, the sink had to be against a wall because I didn't want to take away from the view to the outside with a wall of cabinets over there. So I put this window here so it wouldn't be claustrophobic. So I decided to put my children's baby cups here. They're sterling silver and they're so pretty, and I always keep flowers in it. Makes me happy to look at. Above the refrigerator, this is a reproduction of Picasso's cards. I bought them in a big sheet, had them cut it down to size so they would fit this exact spot. I think they're a nice surprise here. And I did search long and hard for all these pieces of art that would just fit up there and take your eye up, as I said before. Over here we have a dining table. This is also a Matajeta china that they still make in blue, but they quit making it my favorite color, orange. These placemats and napkin rings are by Carol Schwaber. I sell these placemats and napkin rings in my shop. These napkins can be folded into this beautiful flower. You can't do this with just any napkin. It's got to have a stiff edge to it. I think they're so pretty because they look like roses. You can then take the napkin ring off, use the napkin, and there's your glass. This is a French lavabo. I used to put hot water here. Spouts they could turn on and people would wash their face or bathe in this part. I think it's a very interesting thing to have on this little short wall. Love having plants in it. Then I found these just carvings. Now, I don't really know what they were used for originally, but I think they work perfectly over this beautiful arch. The way to make a new build look like you've been there forever is what you put in the house, to me. That's my opinion. It's more than the structure itself. It's the hominess you create. I love putting family pictures around. Landscaping makes a big difference too in a home looking not like a brand new build. Just to me, the more the better. And I guess if you had to say, am I a maximalist or a minimalist, a max would be it. Maybe somewhere in between, but I think you create the warmth as if you've lived in a home forever by having warm and cozy pieces of furniture. I think window treatments are so important in a house. A lot of men don't realize that. As an interior designer, that's usually a hard sell when you're dealing with men. They don't understand how much warmth window treatments bring to a room. And rugs, beautiful rugs on a floor. They just create the most homey atmosphere ever. Fabrics, layers of fabrics, pieces of furniture, as I've said, mixing antique with contemporary, all of those create a warm and cozy environment. Looks like you've been there forever. And now we're moving into the family room area, and this is where we live. I want to tell you about this pig. It's filled with candy. We've had this pig since my children were little and we lived across the street. We called it the grumble jar. They got an allowance, and whenever they complained about anything or just not acting the way they should, they had to put part of their allowance in the grumble jar. But it's always been filled with candy. I didn't care how much candy our children ate. All the neighborhood children would love to come over here and eat what's in there. This is the family room. This is where we live. I love this room. I have 4 swivel chairs in here. Love a swivel chair. This is a counting-out fabric. You can turn over here, talk to the people on the sofa, or over here, the people in that chair. Enjoy this fireplace so much. This is a Scalamandri flame stitch. Flame stitches are back big time. And I've told you how much I love family pictures. So many of our surfaces are covered with pictures. This one is primarily friends. The rest of them are family pictures. I just think they warm any room up. Our TV is housed in this old French piece, and we do watch TV. I know it's little, but this is a cozy little room, and we just sit in here and watch football games or whatever. We have a big television in the living room, also in a cabinet, and one outside. So we have plenty of big televisions, but this seems to be the one that's watched the most. And this is an older chest here, and you can see all the wonderful family pictures. I don't know which one's my favorite. And into this hall, which is the side entrance of our house, I would love to show you my favorite picture in the whole house. These are our grandchildren. This was taken probably 2 or 3 years ago. And this is my favorite piece of artwork. One of our granddaughters did it, Catherine. She did this years ago, and I just think it's so special. She captured all the pets and every member in our family. Found this piece of artwork at Scott's. I think it's just fabulous with all the pretty colors. This is an old French piece, provides lots of storage. And this is a vine, twisted. It's from Indonesia. This is the door I exit when I leave the house most of the time, and I think it's so nice to have a mirror as you leave. This is our friend's entrance. I say that because people who know us well come in this door. This piece of artwork is just great too. It's by Joe Adams. He's a local artist in Macon. When I was very young, and one of my granddaughters is the same way, all I wanted to do was to do paper dolls, make furniture out of paper. I've always had that creative desire. And whether it was flowers or just pasting and cutting, drawing, I always knew I wanted to do either be an interior designer or a fashion designer. As I grew older, I realized that maybe it was more attainable to be an interior designer than a fashion designer. But now I kind of have the best of both worlds, because in my shop I also sell clothes as well as everything that could be used for the interior of a home. So yes, that creativity and desire to do what I do has always been there. But my favorite thing about interior design is the people. I have gotten to know people I would never have experienced in my life. And when you do someone's home, you become very close to them. You know what they're thinking, what their desires are, what their likes and dislikes are. Sometimes you know them so well, you know about their personal lives. And that is my favorite thing about what I do. Found this piece years ago and decided to hang it in a corner. I know that's not usually done, but I just felt like it needed some interest here, and these two walls were so short there was really nothing else to do. I've enjoyed it there. This is a door that I had carved in Indonesia, and it leads into this incredible powder room that I've just done. This is a Tebow paper. This is one of my favorite papers I've seen. I actually had a paper in here that I thought I liked. And then the Tebow rep visited my shop recently and showed me this one. And I thought, I have to have it. I mean, it's the prettiest paper. I just think it's such a treat for guests to come in and experience this, all these bright colors with kind of a global feeling. And I enjoy the gold leaf on the ceiling. Had the tiles painted in Portugal years and years ago, way before we built the house, and found this chest that I made into a vanity. The opposing mirrors add a lot of interest in here, but it's just like a little treasure chest when you walk in. And now we're walking into the living room. I think my favorite thing about this room is this gallery wall. I've done gallery walls for lots of my clients because lots of them have seen pictures of this one, and it's just so interesting. I've found these paintings different places, a few from my shop, some at antique malls, lots of different places. This mantel is another room divider in Indonesia. It was a doorway, much longer on the size than it is now. These are French baking tables where they roll dough that I found in France. Pairs are hard to find. I was very lucky to find these. Love coffee table books. I mean, I just could sit down on a rainy day and thumb through any of them. This is a family picture. It's fairly recent, well, a couple of years old. It's got everybody in there, including the pets. I love an animal print, nothing better. And there's my cheetah over there. He's one of my favorite things too. We do watch television in this room when we have a crowd and don't want to watch that little one out there. It's in this cabinet here. And here are books in here that my husband reads. And when we have a party, we entertain a lot in this room. If we have a big party, set up a table here with a bigger bar than that one that's in there. I have a card table here. It's very important if you have a place for in your house, anywhere for a game table, this is great. Puzzles, for me it's bridge, and it again, like my dining table, is made from parquet from an old floor. Over here, I have this beautiful antique French chest, Amari lamps, and in this little shelf grate. It's great for displaying anything. I like to collect Amari, so that's what I put here. I have an antique French clock here. And then these funky, as I said, I like surprises in a room, so I have these unusual floor lamps here. Aren't these light fixtures incredible? They're visual comfort. They look like feathers, and they are just, I can't imagine the work that went into each of these. They're gorgeous, and I think they highlight this room. Hard finding a rug big enough for this room, but I did, and love all the colors in it. Sometimes it's hard to find one quite this big. All the colors in this room were inspired by this rug. I pulled out the green, the oranges, the golds, the browns, and to even make it more cohesive, I found this incredible fabric for the windows. It is Rudolph, pattern Paloma, color multi. Just so pretty. Then I've repeated the flame stitch from my keeping room that's on a bench in there, brought it in here because I thought it pulled the colors together also. This is some of the molding that I had carved in Indonesia. It was in the picture I showed you earlier when I was there. It's very intricate, and it was, I mean, as hard as that trip was, I'm so glad I did it. It was worth it. I love decorating my own home. It's a bigger challenge, really, because you know everything that's out there and making choices, and you have a limited amount of rooms, and like most people, I can't just change it all the time. I have things that I have changed relatively often, but rugs are staples, the furniture pieces, the casement goods, a lot of them are staples, but there are things I change. I change fabrics, window treatments, and paint colors. And paint is one of the least expensive things you can do to change your home. But yes, I love doing everybody's home, and my biggest challenge is my own. The best compliment someone could ever give me about my home is saying it's so warm and welcoming. Someone said to me one time, I've heard about you and I know you're a great interior designer. And I invited her over here. She said, but I don't want my house to be stiff. So I had her over here and her face lit up with a smile. She says, it's so welcoming. I feel like I could sit on any chair, sofa in this house and be comfortable, and you wouldn't be worried about me messing anything up. That's a big compliment to get from anybody. Our grandchildren come, we have windows that open out. They will stand on the back of the sofa and jump out onto the patio. So yes, I love a comfortable home, and that's the biggest compliment I could ever get. We have enjoyed this long porch on the back of our house. When we were building it, I was kind of at a loss. I knew we were going to have these arches out here, but I couldn't come up with columns for the longest time. Then my husband and I went to the Cloister for a vacation. The Cloister is on Sea Island in Georgia, and they had columns like this. They were so kind. I went to the office, they gave me the source to get them and ordered them, and I think they were the perfect finishing touch for this back porch. We moved in this house and went about 6 months with just pipes propping this porch up. I found this table here at an antique store, and it's just worked great out here on this porch. I serve food, love these sculptures. They're just have fun with them, change out the flowers during the year. Good seating areas out here. Have a fireplace at that end. Sometime I rearrange the furniture so it centers more around the fireplace, but spring here now. And I want to face out, look at the golf course. And we do have the stone fireplace down there, which is the same as the rest of the house. We had a problem back here for a long time with water. It just was saturated because it never got enough sun. So I had these stones brought in. I tried to have gardens and everything was just a pile of mush. Had the stones brought in and that's totally solved it. Welcome to my grandchildren's room. Isn't it great? An artist here, Carol Poe, painted this for me. I told her I wanted a circus tent. She did an amazing job with it too. We have 5 grandchildren. When this room started out, we just had 1 crib over there, and then as our family grew, have 4 on bunk beds, and then we had a 5th. So this is a sofa bed, so everybody can sleep in here now, and they like to at the time, but now some of them have gotten older and want to trail off to other rooms. But it's so fun with all the stuffed animals, and everybody has a pillow with their name on it. We have Sally, Jacqueline, Hunter, Catherine, and Charlie. So it's very personal to them, and they have drugged these animals all over the house. They've ridden some of them. We still have trucks and scooters in there, even though they're grown up, or they all think they're grown up. Some of them really are, and they're all on their way, but they still enjoy this room. It'll always be this way. Follow me through here, and I have a surprise. My grandchildren love to go out on this balcony. They loved to wave to all their friends. And Halloween, all the neighborhood children know that they can come in this house, they run up the staircase, and they wave to all their fellow trick-or-treaters. And here's the downstairs primary bedroom. There's a larger one upstairs, but my husband and I wanted to be down, and I love the coziness of this room. All the colors in this room came from this rug. My husband was out of town, and I redid this bedroom totally. And I thought, is he going to kill me for putting lavender window treatments in here? But he came back and said it was the prettiest room in the house. So he was obviously pleased. I had this headboard made out of old artifacts. Found this chest at an antique market. Love this chest. I love the moldings on it. I think it's so gorgeous. Whimsical piece of art here. I told you I like to mix things up. And lots of family pictures on every surface in this room. I've squeezed as many in here as I could. I found this piece over here. It really had no purpose. It was actually from here to here, and I wanted to make it a bedside table, so I had this bottom part added to make it the right height and put a piece of glass on top. I think it's so pretty. Love the lamps. Again, took them from the color in the rug, repeated this color on the chair and the ottoman over here. And this is an old chair, an old French chair. I love the height of it in this corner. And my husband does sit here and read a lot. It's one of his favorite places to sit. And lots of artwork on the walls that I've just picked up at different places. Love Matuque. These are Matuque linens. I think they're just beautiful. I prefer to stack my pillows rather than having them propped up against the headboard. I just think it's a neater, cleaner look. Of course, I had to have something orange in this room, orange in the rug, and this is my signature color. Visual comfort light fixture. I think the glass is so light and airy, pretty in this room. This is a narrow space here, so I just found this console. It's great just for a little space holder and nice to always have a mirror in the room. Again, more pictures. I had these doors made. I felt like this style door was in keeping with the outside of the house. So a local woodworker here made them and found these long hinges, which are on all of them. There's always something to inspire, whether it's a rug, a piece of fabric, a painting, or just the colors someone suggests that I do in their home. And I've been fortunate enough to do homes all over, not just in Georgia, but other places. And people are so different. Their desires are different. And my main goal is to take someone's desires, and their ideas about how they want their house to look, and elevate those ideas. Not taking away what they want, but making it even better. To me, home means comfortable. It means walking in the door and plopping down anywhere you want. It means being surrounded by family pictures. I have family pictures crowded on most flat surfaces in my house. I love looking at them. My family makes me happy. We're lucky enough to have 5 grandchildren. I have pictures of all of them at all stages of their lives. But home is really about memories, photographs, and just remembering the love that has been created in that home.